The man who views the world at 50 the same as he did at 20 has wasted 30 years of his life. Muhammad Ali. Welcome back to the Headspace and Tasting Podcast, where we talk manhood, tell stories, and discuss the stuff that matters to us one sip at a time. Welcome back.
Hello, Matt.
How you doing, Kevin?
I'm great.
Good. It is finally a beautiful spring day in Missouri. The last time we've been recording, when we say it's a beautiful spring day in Missouri, it was raining.
Right.
For like the last month and a half, every Saturday.
And then we had the quick tornado blast yesterday afternoon.
Yeah. St. Louis got hit pretty hard, I heard.
Yeah. That's what makes today so beautiful.
Yeah, that's right.
Right. What was the movie with Vietnam? We Were Soldiers.
Oh.
The Sergeant Major.
How do you know what kind of goddamn day it is?
After the battle, they're all still standing and alive. It's a beautiful morning.
Yeah, that's a good day. That's a beautiful day. Classic Sam Elliott. And that's who my cat's named after. Command Sergeant Major Basil Plumley.
Right. Oh, I thought you meant Sam Elliott.
No. Sergeant Major Basil Plumley. Famous infantryman. Started out as a glider infantryman in World War II.
Do you have a cat named Basil?
Command Sergeant Major Basil Plumley is his name.
Okay.
But we call him Basil for short.
Basil almost sounds like more of an English.
Yeah.
If you had an English setter, you could name him Basil.
Our neighbors call him Basil.
Okay.
But that's okay. He kills all their birds. He hunts birds in their backyard. They have a bunch of bird feeders and stuff, and every day he comes home with a bird.
Okay.
Eats it on the back porch. He'll eat every ounce of them. And that voice you hear is James Strong, joining us today on our podcast. He is has a long-running podcast. How many years now?
8, 7. I'm on episode 403, and I do not quite one a week. Probably 45 a year.
Whenever you're not globe-trotting.
Well, I don't do that so much anymore.
Yeah.
Okay, I walked away from the day job. That's what happens when you become an old man. You can do that because you're Medicare eligible, and now I just I kind of do what I want instead of what the man's told me to do. And the only globetrotting I'm doing is I spent a lot of time in California and Florida this winter time when the weather was horrible here.
Nice.
And
has a more beautiful head of hair than me, and you're 20 some odd years older than me. I have more gray hair. And with
you don't
what's
have
left,
any hair. What are you talking about?
I have what I have left is gray.
The gray hair's coming in. People say, "Well, you must dye your hair." No, I don't. If I dye my hair, how do you explain what's on top here?
Yeah, so strong Italian genes.
Yeah, maybe so. Italian genes or whatever you want to call it. Families from Sicily.
Oh, okay.
Which is funny. I like to say, anybody, just a piece of info. Anybody who tells you they're Sicilian and is racist, you just need to explain to them there's a 99% chance that they've got African blood in them. If you look at how close Sicily is to North Africa, okay,
yeah, the Moors were there a couple times.
More than a couple of times.
Yeah.
So I always like to tell people that I'm part Tunisian, which makes me officially, I guess, African American.
There you go. You can claim it. You and Elon Musk.
Well, he really is.
Yeah, he is truly African American. Yeah. And we do have some new guests from Africa that came to the U.S., the South African refugees, that all of a sudden the Democrats don't want immigrants.
Yeah, they went to Iowa.
Idaho.
I thought they went to Iowa.
No, like Idaho, and maybe Ohio, Idaho, and maybe Iowa too.
I'm pretty sure.
Oh, cool. Good, a lot of good farmland there for them. Welcome to America. So James, I've been on your show a couple times.
You have, back in the Vote Matt days, the
Max Countrywood. I was on Max Countrywood one time.
What was the you and your buddy did the
vote
the halfway homestead show?
No, that was me and Caitlin, the half-assed homestead.
Okay.
We did the half-assed homestead report.
Okay.
So we sold the homestead and became suburbanites.
That was after they kicked you out of South Carolina. not officially, but
they didn't kick me out. Those bastards can have it.
It's a nice state. It is. I like South Carolina. You liked it once upon a time.
Just because my kids were there.
Yeah.
And
I still like South Carolina.
I do too.
It's a great place to visit. It's a horrible place to live.
I've never lived there.
Especially
I've only visited there, and I liked it.
As an outsider, it's one of those places where you're not from around here.
Yeah.
They're serious about it.
Yep.
But it is beautiful. It's a great location to travel to other places on the East Coast. It's a short drive to everywhere you want to go.
Yeah, you're close to the ocean. You're close to the mountains. The winters are mild. Yeah, all that kind of stuff.
I will tell you, the homeless in Charleston.
Oh yeah.
Are the most polite homeless people I've ever come across.
Yeah,
really?
They got a good thing going. They don't want
Yeah. I remember my wife and I, our first trip there, we're standing out on one of the piers looking out over the harbor. And there was a gentleman who was had his stuff, and he was sitting on the bench off to our left. And out of nowhere, he just said, he picked up all his stuff and moved it out of the way, and come up to us and said, "Hey, come here, sit down here on the bench and enjoy the view." And we're like, no, that's fine. It's all good. No, please, I want you to enjoy my town.
Oh.
Come sit down. And
Very
we did.
cool.
And he walked away.
Yeah, he probably caught a couple beatings from the cops down.
Ooh,
so
I don't
he knew
know.
better.
I don't know, but that's how it was.
Yeah, that's nice.
You know, you can walk across the entire city of Charleston with all their little trails that connect all the cemeteries in the city, day or night, and I feel safe. There is not one time where I felt unsafe in Charleston.
Oh boy.
It didn't matter where I was.
I think you're just ignorant to how much danger you were actually in.
Either that or people saw me and said, "Oh, he knows what he's doing."
It sounds like a safe area. Was Sheriff Bone in charge of that part of North South
Let's
Carolina?
not bring that stuff up. Let's let sleeping dogs lie.
Okay.
Well, just like everyone listening, this is the first time I met James. Hi, James. Why don't you tell us about yourself?
Yeah.
Give us some background.
What's there to tell? I was born a poor black child. No, that was the Jerk, the Steve
Jerk.
Martin movie. Golly, I've lived here in the St. Louis area all my life, and had a day job, worked in a machine shop many years, and I decided it was a whole lot easier and you make a whole lot more money running your mouth than running a machine. So I did that and sold stuff instead of building stuff, and I did that for 23 years for a local St. Charles County company. And hit 65, became Medicare eligible, and it was time for the third act. I mean, the first act was, I guess, running machinery. Yeah. The second act was selling machinery, and the third act is doing what I do now. And the third act is the last act, so I better make it a good one.
We're going to get into that today. That's actually our topic today: is preparing for retirement, retiring. And then what do you do after that?
Well, I've got a buddy in the radio business. He's been in the business for forever. Brad Hildebrand. He was on KSLQ way back then, and he talks about how old he is.
KSLQ, man, I remember that station as a kid.
Do you remember Brad Who on KSLQ? That's Brad Hildebrand. He's still around.
Yeah.
He's
the name. Yeah.
He still.
I remember the bumper sticker. It had the big Q.
Yeah.
Looked like a tongue.
Yep.
And then there was also the Keep on Trucking thing with it or whatever.
Yep.
Huh.
Wow.
He still owns radio stations in the area. He might be, other than the Dorseys, the last independent guy around.
Wow.
Okay. But anyway, I got into radio because I wanted to, and in my travels, in my sales travels, I would listen on the radio to people back in the AM radio days when all the talk show hosts were on all the AM stations, and what you would do is you listen to these stations. You think, this guy's a dope. I could do this. So I thought, you know what? Put your money where your mouth is, dummy. And what I did is I went on the list of all the St. Louis radio stations. I thought, well, who would have me? Who would have a guy who is available on weekends only or maybe evenings that nobody knows? So I picked the last rated show, radio station in St. Louis. That was at that time WGNU, 920 AM. They broadcast off of de Bolivar in the Central West End. They were it. They were dead last. So I called them. They said, yeah, come on in for an interview. So I did. They said, yeah, we kind of like you, but don't call us, we'll call you. So I went home. Later that evening, later that afternoon, I got a phone call. What are you doing this evening? Oh, why? Well, the guy who's supposed to come in tonight can't. Can you? Sure. So I did the 10 to midnight shift.
What an intro.
Yeah. And it was fun. It was fun. And I did that for a while. They liked me. And they said, look, we want to have you on every Tuesday and Thursday night. I said, I can't do that because I travel a lot. And I really don't have a schedule. And, well, so I just filled in for people here and there. Then there was another local radio station, not local St. Louis, but local in the Union, Washington area, KLPW, 1220 AM. They're still there. And I called them, and they said, yeah, we'll think about it. They thought about it, and they said, look, we don't need anybody that'll do a show, but we need guys to produce the stuff on Saturday mornings and do the buy, sell, swap, and trade show at 10 o'clock. Yeah, the Tradio show. And so I did that. And they liked me. And then I told them, I said, look, I said, I'm going to do this for you, but why don't you let me have 2 hours? I'm here from 6 to 10 anyway. Let me stick around from 10 to 12 and I'll do a show. They said, sure, go ahead. And I did. And I mean, I was the only one in the studio. There were no producers. There were no call screeners. Everybody was gone. So I'd run the board. I'd answer the phone. And I did all of that kind of stuff. And I did that for, golly, I don't know, 10, 12 years.
Wow.
Then they went to a music format. And they said, hey, you want to spin records? I said, nah, no thanks.
Oh, man. So, I would have done it at least twice. 2 or 3 times
just to try it.
Yeah, but they're good people there. They always treated me fairly. Diane Jones was station manager there then. She still is now. She's a good station manager. She always treated me fairly, which is all you can ever ask of a boss. And yeah, and I figured I'd just do a podcast. And I think I'm on podcast 403 now. So nice. I've done a lot of them.
Yeah.
And podcasting is different than radio.
Yeah.
It's better and it's not. You don't have a live audience, so there's things you can do and there's things that you can't do. There's something about the aura of radio too, that just knowing that you don't know how many people are listening to you because you just don't know. Whereas a podcast, you can kind of look at downloads, you can get a better idea. But yeah, that's what I've been doing. And it's funny though, because since I've walked away from the day job, you'd think I would have more time available to do a podcast. It's actually less time.
Yeah.
I mentioned that this is my third act now, and I'm in the process of restoring a 1951 Jaguar Mark VII. This thing, my dad bought it, gosh, I don't know, almost 60 years ago, and he's going to restore it. And he parked in the garage, had 6 kids with mom, and that was it. So I said, what are you going to do with that car? He said, I don't know. Dad's 88, going to be 89, so he's not going to restore it. I said, can I have it? He said, yeah. And so I'm in the process of restoring it.
Yeah, it's running. The engine's
It's running now, yes, it is.
You got the lights figured out, the electric?
I did. And I mean, I don't want to say, hey, I did all this myself. I mean, I brought it into I rent a 2-bay shop not far from my house. I took everything apart, took everything off of that thing.
Yeah. Gave
it to a guy. He did the body work, fixed the rust, painted it, rebuilt the engine, had a guy rebuild the engine, had a guy rebuild the transmission, gave it back to me. And then I am in the process of putting everything back together. Now, I'm fairly mechanically inclined. I've worked on cars before. I've done brakes. I've changed oil. I've changed ball joints. I have never rewired an English electrical system before. And so I'm in the process of learning. So if you go onto my LinkedIn page, you will see that my profession is aspiring Jaguar mechanic, because I am learning with a small L, and I learn every single day.
Yeah. The English cars are famous for that, for having peculiar ways of doing things that everybody else is like, yeah, the wiring harness runs like this, goes through the dashboard, through the firewall, up to the dash, and then it goes like this. And they're all pretty much the same, except for or English cars, I should say.
English cars are totally different. Everything about an English car is totally different. Everything.
Do they do that on purpose, just so they can have a niche in the market? Or
I don't know. I ask the question myself all the time. How did these people ever once upon a time rule the world? Because the way they do things, I mean, the guy in the shop across the alley from me, he's doing I think it's a 64, 65 Impala. And I looked at his.
Super simple.
Yeah, I said, you've got 7 wires coming out of the firewall. He said, yeah, so? I said, I've got 47.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everything links into something. I mean, I'm not kidding. I mean, it's a braid about 3 inches in diameter of wires.
Yeah.
And
I've seen pictures. It's wild.
It's unbelievably wild. But the way they do a lot of things, the way they engineer things, it's very cool in many ways. I'll give you an example. The handbrake has a shaft that goes into a hole, and that's what it pivots on. But they also made a babbitt, a bearing out of babbitt. So this thing actually has a oiled bronze bearing that this thing goes on. But it will never wear out.
Yeah.
And if it does, I've got a machine shop. I just make new. And I've made countless new parts for this car because they're not available, or they're available and you buy them and you say, hey, this is wrong. They said, yeah, well, that's what you get. Yeah. So you got to alter it. Right. I stopped overbuying parts and altering them. So I start making my own.
Nice.
It's a long process.
Yeah.
But I am learning.
I remember as a kid growing up, believe it or not, the Jag was my favorite car.
Yeah.
As a kid, I always thought, I want to own a Jag.
They're beautiful.
I just love the lines on them.
All the Triumph motorcycles are beautiful. MGs, Land Rovers, they're just beautiful. Aston Martins, I think, are gorgeous cars. There's something about it you can tell that's an English car. That's an English.
It's true, but the electrics on them were just awful, terrible. They were fine unless they got wet.
Right.
Okay.
And they ran in a country where it never stopped raining.
What's the year again? 57?
51.
51.
1951.
So, 51 Jag, what kind of features does it have that requires the electrical? Because I'm sure that American-made cars didn't have some of the features that it has.
The only thing this car has that a normal car doesn't have is it comes with an option of what they call traffickers. A trafficker is when you throw on the right blinker, it blinks in the front, blinks in the back. And there's also an arm that comes up between the passenger, the back door and the front door, and it comes out from vertical to horizontal. Now, I don't have traffickers on my car, but it has the option of having
wired for it.
It is now. So
that's a natural street sweeper.
Yeah, get the bikers, the bicyclists off.
Protesters.
That's interesting. What is the what's the name of the color? It's a blue, right? But it's
it's we thought it was opalescent blue, but it's twilight blue is what it's called.
Oh, okay.
And interesting story on that. I had to find out what the color was, and the guys were having trouble. So I wrote into the Jaguar has a heritage society with the king's stamp on it, okay? Yeah. And for $40 they'll trace your car. You give them the codes off the body, and they'll tell you what it's all about. And they told me everything about it. And twilight blue was the color.
Wow.
Nobody could find twilight blue. They could not find. I wanted the original color, okay?
Yeah.
They finally found it. There's a company in St. Louis. They said, look, we finally found that company. It's an automotive company here in St. Louis. It's called Crest. Here's the thing about Crest. Crest was founded by a gentleman named Rich Garlick, who's my godfather.
Whoa.
And was the best man in my father's wedding.
Amazing.
Yeah. What a coincidence.
That is wild.
Yeah.
Wow.
But
so that's truly meant to be. And it's a project you and your dad are working on together, right?
Dad will be 90 next month. I'm sorry, Dad will be 89 next month, and he still comes out occasionally and helps me out. He did a lot of the take an old rusty part and take the rust off it, and he'll take it over to the wire wheel and get all that stuff done, and he'll do a whole lot of that stuff. I mean, he's not crawling under the car with me. That's hard enough for me to do, much less him.
Yeah.
But he's helping out, and it's amazing. Dad's 89, and I'll say, where the heck did this go? Oh, I remember that one. This was this. And he tells the story. I said, Dad, you haven't seen this, worked on this car in 60 years. Wow. Yeah, but I remember that.
That's wild.
Yeah.
That is really cool.
But it's running. But it is running.
Yeah, sounds like a sewing machine.
It does.
It's wild. I keep saying that as well. But it's a beautiful engine, too. Mm-hmm. The way it runs, it's seriously, it's so quiet.
That was a 3.5 liter straight six engine, and that engine was designed by the guy's name escapes me. The guy who founded Jaguar, Sir somebody or another.
Yeah.
His name will come to me soon. But anyway, while the Germans were bombing London, him and his buddy said, "Okay, when this is all done, we're going to put a new engine in these cars.
We're going to go faster."
Because Jaguars were original. It was the Sidecar Swallow Company, and made sidecars for motorcycles. And when World War II came, they had to change their name because their logo was two big S's for Sidecar Swallow. I thought, you know what?
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
Having SS on the side of our cars in 1938, that ain't going to fly. So we need to change the company name. So they changed it to Jaguar. Wow. And they needed a new engine, and this engine actually came out in 1950. And it went into the saloons, sedans we call them, the Mark 7s, and also the XKs. That's the drop-top coupes as they call them. And it's a dual overhead cam, aluminum head, cast iron block engine.
Wow.
And it was the fastest production car at that time.
Air-cooled or water-cooled?
It's water-cooled. It's water-cooled.
Wow. Yeah, inline engines are really cool. That they have a crazy amount of torque to them.
Yeah,
and they're rough. I had a Jeep Cherokee with an inline six, and that was one of my favorite cars ever.
Was that 4.0 liter?
Yeah. And it was a two-door Jeep Cherokee. It was a really cool car. And I had a baby, and it didn't work anymore, so I had to get rid of it.
Yeah, it's funny how that works.
Yeah, I didn't have a baby. My wife did, but. I had to get rid of my car because she had a baby. You know what? Family comes first. Yeah.
That's why I have this car, because Dad had 6 kids, and there was, Dad worked 2 jobs. Much of the time you work 2 jobs and raise 6 kids, there's no Saturday afternoon to restore a dopey car.
No. That's why you only see old men in Corvettes.
That's right, yeah. Or Jeep Wranglers like me. Now I got another baby. Let's talk about this bourbon we're drinking today, and then we're going to get into James's third act.
I don't know how he call it a bourbon.
It's Is
it bourbon?
They call it bourbon.
It is. It is. Well, this week we're going with the brand Penelope, and it's the Cooper series, and it is their straight bourbon whiskey finished in honey and Amberana barrels, double cask finish. Rio is what they call it, as in...
Because it's a Brazilian wood, one of those barrels, right?
The Amberana wood. It's a native Brazilian hardwood that they use for the barrel. The bourbon whiskey itself aged about 4 years, and then they spent another 2 years finishing it in the honey and the Amberana barrels. And so you had American honey barrel and then the Amberana barrel. That did the finishing. So all told, up to 6 years of finishing time for this particular whiskey.
And they've done multiple batches of this, right? And they're different. They taste different, apparently.
Well, I don't know how many of the Rio they did. I know they did a 24. This is 2025.
Yeah.
And then they have several different kinds. This one is 98 proof. Or 49% alcohol by volume. And they use a 4-grain mix on it. Typically, all the bourbons we've been drinking have been 3. This one's all 4. So it's 74% corn, 14% wheat, 9% rye, and 3% malted barley.
Oh. What are you smelling when you nose this?
Oh,
What do you think?
straight up, it's just cinnamon and honey.
Cinnamon.
I mean, that's all I'm smelling.
What about you, James?
I'm not a bourbon connoisseur. When I drink bourbon, I will drink it. In fact, I rarely drink bourbon. If I drink whiskey, I generally drink rye, and I drink it in a Manhattan.
Okay.
But I'll have bourbon and sometimes. To me, this tastes like, and I'm going to compare it to, and don't be offended because some people don't like this stuff.
Everybody has their own opinion about bourbon.
This reminds me of Maker's Mark. It's kind of sweet like Maker's Mark.
Yeah.
Okay.
Did I insult you?
No, I
like
think this
Maker's
is
Mark.
sweeter than Maker's Mark.
It might be. It might be. I like a sweet whiskey, and this certainly is. Some people don't like Maker's Mark because it's too sweet.
Okay.
Okay, I like it.
If you get like the apple cinnamon caramel pastry at the donut shop, it kind of smells like that.
You're right. It
a
does.
little bit.
Yeah, that's what I wrote down. Apple pie.
Yeah.
Really heavily. Like
I wouldn't say as strong as an apple pie, but
Like
more
an apple,
like
like an apple fritter.
Apple fritter.
fritter.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
I think I read somebody compared this to baklava,
Okay.
I wouldn't go baklava.
and
on
I
it.
was like, man, I haven't eaten baklava for so long. I need to go buy some and
Apple
try
fritter's
it. But
closer.
I think
Yeah.
apple fritter is better. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very good.
As far as the palate, I mean, for myself, again, just like I smelled, it's honey and cinnamon.
Honey. Yeah.
Real strong on the cinnamon. And it kind of, for me, hovers on the middle of the tongue, almost to where I don't like it. Like it's just stays there. And there's just nothing else that goes with it. There's no finish whatsoever. It's a bright bourbon. I mean, it's, I think it's got a decent taste when you get into it. But as a casual drinker for a bourbon whiskey,
No.
Heck no.
No,
I wouldn't drink this.
I don't think I could drink all night, like sitting around.
I think I
playing
get sick
cards
after
or
2 or
something.
3 of them.
Yeah.
Really?
It's very sweet.
I get ill.
I feel like it coats my mouth with sweetness.
Yeah.
Um,
If you're spending the evening, you're drinking bourbons, this might be a good dessert liqueur for you.
Oh, yeah.
Like I'm going to cap off my night, and I'm going to have one of these.
okay.
Now this wood, this Brazilian wood that it's, now is that in the barrel? Are the staves of the barrel made of this wood?
It's the barrel itself.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. They didn't put staves in it for this.
Okay.
I think of what I read was the previous batches, they had it in that Brazilian wood longer than this batch, and that it was people were turned off by that flavor, whatever it is.
Gotcha.
I'm not sure. I don't know if is that putting the cinnamon flavor in this aroma. I don't know.
I would
Definitely
have to
tell the
say
honey
it
barrel.
is because the honey's coming from the honey barrel.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously. I mean, that's where it's coming from. And then the Rack House here in Cottleville, they
Yeah.
do the same thing. They age stuff with honey barrels as well.
They used to sell honey out of there too.
They did. That ended, unfortunately, because that bourbon honey they had was amazing. Yeah, so I mean that's kind of where I would go on this.
So you got a good deal on it, right?
Yeah, the market, or I paid the cost for it, which was $75, and the aftermarket right now is running $230 on this. So
crazy.
anyone listening, if anybody wants to try their hands at Penelope, give me a buzz.
You got one for sale.
Sell it for $300.
Let me ask you two bourbon connoisseurs a whiskey question. What's your opinion of Satori, the Japanese whiskey?
Oh, the Satori Whiskey Toki.
Yeah.
It makes me angry how good it is.
Okay. It's very good. Somebody try this Japanese whiskey. I said, you mean it's sake? He said, no, it's really whiskey,
Yeah.
but it's made from Japan. All right, fine. Let me taste this stuff. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
They make whiskey like they make cars.
Satori's
Really good.
Satori's the owner, right? Isn't that the owning company, Satori?
I don't know.
Because
Well, there's Hibiki, right? Isn't that one of them?
yeah, but I was just thinking,
I
it
don't
just
have my
crossed my
computer.
mind. I don't have my stuff with me today, but I want to say that Maker's Mark was bought out by these guys.
Oh.
couple years
but
ago.
yeah, whenever I drink it, I think about my grandpa
Yeah.
and how I'm like, oh man, He'd be so mad at me for enjoying this right now.
Well, this is the thing about the American market, because these distillers, especially whiskey distillers, in Scotland, Ireland, those places, they are now changing things up and spending their time marketing the Asian market.
Okay.
Japan was the largest consumer for a little while of bourbons and whiskeys. And then it shifted over, now it's China. China has become real hot in this particular market. So a lot of effort's going into bottling things for them that you're not going to find here in the States.
Well, I'll tell you who consumes more whiskey than anybody else.
Who is he?
India.
Yeah, they're really into.
But it's not. You're not. They're not buying that.
No.
Okay. Right. It's the stuff that you and I wouldn't
usually
drink. Well, it's
not good.
It's rot gut Indian whiskey that they don't. You're not going to find it over here because it's 14 rupees a bottle.
The whiskey we tasted last week, Whistle Pig, is owned and operated by an Indian fellow.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I think what makes Penelope. I think what makes Penelope Rio worth $230 on the aftermarket is that its flavor profile is highly unique. You're not going to find this in anything else.
Yeah, right.
And it's limited quantities, and I think that's someone who's trying to get into something different. They don't want to spend the money on the high end, the Pappies and all that stuff. They're gonna jump in, and if they can get a hold of something like Penelope, they're going to do it. And I think Penelope knows that, and they're capitalizing on it, because if I go up to the rack house right now, I want to say they have 8 different kinds of Penelope bourbons sitting up there.
Yeah. You think it's more of a fad thing?
Well, I think whoever the distiller is and the master distiller, I think they can have fun with what they're doing. They can experiment, try different things.
Yeah, because Jim Beam you're making Jim Beam. You're not changing this.
Yeah, but it's an opportunity to take advantage of the market, get some, boost your sales, and do whatever you're going to do with it. I think if you're in that part of it, I don't see anything wrong with it. That's fine. I mean,
we talked about how
it's the artistry.
The bourbon market the bubble is kind of bursting right now.
Well, especially with the younger generations.
Yeah.
Well, I think a lot of that had to do with the fact that during COVID, it went through the roof.
Yeah.
And so they figured, okay, well, this is going to be a big deal, so let's put stuff into 7-year-old barrels, and now in 3 years when this stuff comes due, nobody wants it because of supply and demand.
Yeah.
It's a huge and that's the problem with COVID, and you sit on it forever, and you start bottling these older versions, and people are starting to really like them. They can't keep up with it.
Yeah.
So you got to go back to your roots and do the standard 2 to 3 year aging process for it.
Well, and people's tastes change. I maybe tastes, maybe tolerance. I mean, I'm embarrassed to say that I don't drink nearly as much as I used to, and I'm embarrassed because I can't take it. I mean, I used to on a Saturday night, I would have 2 double Negronis, and then a couple glasses of wine with dinner. I can't do that anymore. If I have 1 double Negroni, I'm not sleeping. Okay.
I have a friend of mine that's doing that on a nightly basis, and every day he just checks into work like he's happy as a clam. Dude, I wish I could have your liver.
Well, he goes straight from work to the gym.
I know.
Well, but I mean, I love drinking, and I miss it because. Some of my favorite drinks they're strong. A Negroni is a strong drink.
I really like Negroni.
I do too.
It might be my favorite. My second or first favorite, it was a Manhattan. And I like it with Rittenhouse rye. It's good stuff.
Yeah.
But man, I tell you what, if I'm gonna have wine with dinner, especially, I better have 1 cocktail and 1 small bottle of wine, or I'm not gonna sleep that night.
Wow.
It's sad.
Well, that's when you do your podcast.
That's what I used to do.
That way, the audience really gets to know you.
Yeah. The Suntory, I looked it up. They own Hibiki. They own 4. There's a few different ones. They have a Hibiki. That's probably what you tasted.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, that was it.
I didn't see Maker's Mark on it, but this was the Suntory website. So they might own.
There might be another. It's another Japanese company. I know they're owned by a Japanese company.
Well, I guess that's their revenge for Hiroshima, buying up all our bourbon.
Yeah, but
that's fine. We still get to keep it if something happens.
Yeah, who cares who owns it?
Nah,
really?
we're in a global economy. Well, we were in a global economy, right? Not anymore.
Yeah, we still are.
By the time this is published, we might be again. So who knows?
Right. Depends on who gets elected next.
Hey, all I know is whatever they're doing, anything that you lost at the beginning of the year has already been recovered.
Oh yeah,
in the markets.
Yeah,
So,
I mean the Dow is up, I think, 0.5%, and the S&P is up 1%. I mean, it's nothing like we had before, but everything's
to begin with.
Exactly, everything is so. That's from the first of the year. I mean, if you look at from the election when the 15th of January, it's way down.
Yeah,
but
one of my IRAs is up 13% on the year. I'm not going to complain.
No,
I mean, I can't have the money today. It'll be there for me someday.
Maybe.
But I'll take 13% on a day when everybody thinks the market's shit. So
yeah,
I'm happy.
Well, speaking of wise investments, James, would you still consider yourself newly retired? You're in your first year, right?
I don't like the R word. I don't like the retired word, although I use it myself because
You're a quitter, new quitter.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I don't consider myself retired because honestly, I get up the same time now.
Yeah.
Here's the difference though. I don't get up at 4:30 in the morning to go to the gym anymore. Okay. I get up at 5:30 to 6, and I get to the gym at 7 or 7:30 or 8.
Yeah.
Or 8:30. Okay, it doesn't matter. So I'm still doing all that stuff. I still go to bed between 9 and 10. Okay, I still do all that, but and I'm between the Jaguar and the yard and the pool now, and just all the other stuff I'm doing. My days they're very full. It's just that every 2 weeks I don't get a paycheck for it.
Yeah.
So what you're telling me is you're just dividing out your time differently than you did.
Yeah.
While you're working.
Oh yeah. I'm not complaining. Don't get me wrong. I'm doing probably back when I was working the day job. I probably did what I wanted. I had a good job. I worked for a good company, work I liked, good family, good product. Probably 75% of my life I was doing whatever I wanted to do. 25% not so much. It's more like 95% now. I do what I want.
Okay. Yeah, I heard somebody said the problem with being retired is you don't get a day off from it. And you don't have like that day off to look forward to.
Well, you say that, and it's kind of true because I felt sad because everybody was excited when the Christmas holidays come. Yeah, week between Christmas and New Year's off. Yeah, and I'm thinking, it's the same for me. There's no joy.
Right. You're kind of robbed of
Well,
that, huh?
so the fallacy, truth or otherwise, you tell me, James. You're retired. I would think, at least in my mind, knowing that I'm retired, tomorrow or even this afternoon, I can say, hey, Gail, why don't we just pack up and go head out for 4 days, go somewhere?
Well, I'm at a disadvantage or an advantage, however you want to put it, where I married a girl younger than me, so she's working for quite a while. Somebody's got to. So she's still working, so she can't. I can, though. I mean, my brother's got a place out in Colorado. I'll go there for a week. We went there for a week this, I guess, was fall, early October, late September. We climbed a 14er. I did a Via Ferrata, which if you've ever done that is so much fun. Where you traverse across the side of a precipice.
No, thank you.
Oh, it was so much fun.
I mean, I've done it when I was in the Army, but
okay.
so I'm not doing it again.
This was fun. But we're going to do it again when the weather warms up. But I can just go.
Yeah.
And do that.
That's my definition of retirement right there, what you just said. I can just go.
Yeah. Number one son and his family are going to the UK in July. I'm tagging along.
Cool. And he's got a brood with him too.
There's 6 of them together. Yeah. It was going to be a week in the UK and then a week in Europe. They were going to see a Formula One race.
Oh, cool.
But I wanted to do that, but I didn't want to be gone 2 weeks.
Yeah.
It's just too long. I didn't want to be gone that long. So I'm doing the UK thing.
Well, I guess we should tell. I didn't tell everybody, but you're my uncle.
Yeah.
On my mother's side, and you've known me my whole life.
Mm-hmm.
And our families are pretty close. We get together regularly, Christmas, Thanksgiving. We used to get together a lot more. Now we're all off with, everybody's off with their grandchildren. And
you get the extended family, and that's what happens.
Yeah. But you and I have been in communication for my whole life.
Mm-hmm. I remember when you were born.
Right. Yeah, I think you were
And
there.
you don't remember when I was born.
No, I don't. I was in your wedding. I think I was a ring bearer, wasn't I?
Yes, you were.
Yeah.
Yes, you were.
And so knowing you your whole life and watching, your sons, you have 4 sons.
4 sons, yeah.
And all of them at one point in time went to private school, but some went to public, right? Your oldest?
They all went to parochial grade school.
Okay. Yeah.
2 of the boys graduated from SLU High. 2 of the boys went to DeSmet Jesuit.
That's it. Yeah.
Number 2 son finished up at Wentzville, though.
Okay.
So his last little bit, he went to public school, but they're great kids. They're all married. They all have children, with the exception of number 2. But he's got one on the way. He's just recently married.
I'm sure he's practicing a lot.
Yeah, I'm sure he is. But they've got one on the way that he was married in August, and they got one that'll be on the way.
Cool.
October, I think.
Yeah.
So.
Well, congratulations.
That'll be grandchild number 9.
Yeah, I was going to say how many now.
Yeah, it'll be 9, and yeah, I mean it's been a fun ride, but they're on their own.
So I was saying that to say that your education was very important for your children.
Absolutely.
And from what I could tell as one of the cousins, one of your nephews, that you've been fairly conservative with how you guys raised them, how you lived your lives, fairly frugal, or at least wise with your money. I remember you had that old van you drove and it was forever.
Yep.
Same. So you would drive the same. You had a Toyota Corolla that you drove for years. What was that?
I had a Mazda 626.
Mazda 626.
I drove that forever. When we were a young family, living 32 miles from where I worked, I had to get good transportation that didn't cost much, and we had no money.
Yeah.
So I would buy cars for $500, and I'd drive them for several years.
Yeah.
And sell them for $500. So I drove cars for free, basically. But I was halfway talented. I could work on the cars myself, and that's how we did things. And yeah, we sent our kids to private schools. That was important. So we did this, not that.
So you had priorities, and you had your priorities in order, and you stayed focused and disciplined.
Yep.
And that's what I could tell. And like you live in the same house. You've lived. How long have you been in that house?
Oh gosh, 35 years.
Yeah.
Before that, I lived in the same house for 8 years.
Yeah. So there's no real trading up to a new house every 5 years or so to get a bigger house or a brand new neighborhood.
There were 6 of us. Now there's 2. I have no reason to buy a bigger house now.
People do though.
I know they do. I know they do.
And they think we're the strange ones for living frugally.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when you were young family, you worked for the same company?
I worked for, basically after I got out of high school, I've had 3 jobs. I worked in a small independent machine shop for 1 year. And I loved the work, did not like the shop. So I thought, okay, when I get my 1-year anniversary, I'm going to get another job. I got the anniversary, I got another job. I then worked 23 years for Sun & Products. They built machinery. And I worked in the machine shop, later in customer service, working with the salespeople. I worked there 23 years, just over. Then from there, I wanted to be a salesman, and they didn't want me to be a salesman. So I came to a small family-owned company in Lake St. Louis called Everware. They build precision cutting tools for the baby diaper, adult incontinence, feminine care industry. And I sold that product for them. And I worked there for 23 years, just under. And now, hopefully, I'll have 23 years where I can work on a Jaguar.
Yeah. So you drove a Mazda 626, these $500 cars.
Yeah.
Worked on them yourself, all this stuff. And now what's your car that you drove here in today? Do you not want to say?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, I cars to me are like pets are for some people. I love my cars. They love their pets. They're not human, I know that, but I love them. And what I drove here was my 2009 Saturn Sky Redline that I bought new back in 2009.
Yeah,
that's what I said when I pulled up in the driveway. I went, "Whoa, look at that! It's a Saturn."
Yeah,
How would you see a Saturn?
It's still running.
Anymore?
It just turned 49,000, 50,000 miles, something like that. So I don't drive a ton of miles on it. My daily driver is a 2017 Jaguar XE.
Yeah.
That's all my cars have names.
Yeah.
The Sky is the fun car. The Jaguar XE is the beautiful car. Then I have in my shop that I'm restoring the 1951 Jaguar Mark 7. That's the money pit car. And then you have these cars like this where they're wonderful cars, but I mean the Saturn is a convertible, two-seater, and it's a roller skate when it's wet, so you can only drive it sometimes. The XE has been perfect. Okay, I just turned 49,000 miles on it. It's never had a problem. But if I get into the middle of Colorado and it breaks down, I'm putting that thing on a truck and having it towed to Denver or someplace for them to work on it.
Right.
Okay, so you can't take that everywhere.
No.
The Mark 7, I just got it running, but even when I get it running, I'm not taking that anywhere. Okay, nowhere within a 20-mile radius of my house.
Yeah.
So the last car is the practical car, and for years we drove a Ford Taurus, and we drove that thing for 12 years, 170,000 miles. Just sold it, and we bought a Camry.
Okay.
So that's the practical car. That's the car. That's the workhorse.
Right. And I guess my point is the discipline and staying focused on the end game. So when you started your family, did you always have the focus like, I'm going to retire one day and I want to be prepared for that day?
Always. Well, I will tell you, Matt, honestly, and for some people, it's never too late. But when I was 19, that's when I decided I'm going to start doing this.
Yeah.
And I put away something every paycheck from the time I was 19.
Right.
That's the secret. It's the magic of compound interest.
So,
and
somebody's at the door. That's weird. They can go away.
No more guests?
No, I don't think so.
But yeah, you just put away a little bit of money here, a little bit of money there. You invest conservatively. Don't spend too much. Understand that this house is just fine. You don't need to keep up with the Joneses.
I might need to sign for this. Hold on.
So
you guys keep talking.
Yeah, we will. So, but yeah, you live conservatively and figure out what you need and what you want, and what you want is something down the road. When I was 19, I set myself a goal. And I don't need to put the numbers in, but by the time I'm 55 years old, I want to have this much in the bank. I hit that at 53, But here's the thing about it. I thought, from 19 to 53, I've had this goal, and I made it with 2 years to spare. And I was elated for part of a day. That was it. Then the thrill was gone.
Well, so you're 2 years early. You hit your goal.
Yeah.
And you had the thrill, and then it was gone. What did you do to account for the other 2 years that you had in your goal? Did you say?
I just kept working and kept building, but what that made me realize was money isn't everything.
Well, that's my point.
You can have enough, and if you have enough, you don't need any more. People would ask me when I was getting ready to retire from the day job. They would say, how much money do you have? I mean, to me, that's a rude question. But that's just the guys. I'd say, well, that's kind of a personal question. Yeah, I know it is. But how much money do you have? And I finally started telling them this. I said, I have more money than Jeff Bezos. And they said, what? I said, yeah, I have more money than Jeff Bezos. They said, well, how do you figure? I said, I have enough. And he doesn't.
Yeah, that's right.
If you think about it, Jeff Bezos, Bill Gates, Elon Musk, I mean, fill in the blank for the millionaire with more money than God. They've all left their families, started, 2, 3 families. Elon Musk, I don't know, 28, I don't know. It's hard, I can't count. But you think to yourself, how many billions of dollars would you take to just write off your family?
Yeah.
And the answer is none. So I just came to the conclusion that, look, I have enough. When I hit 65 and I can go into Medicare, because that's the big thing. Insurance is very expensive. Medicare is excellent insurance for not a whole lot of money.
Yeah.
And when I hit that, I was done. Time for Act 3.
Okay.
Act 2, 1 was working the machine shop. Act 2 was selling. Now this is Act 3, and
Well,
it's the
and
last
your ramp up,
Yeah.
right, from 19 to 53. You hit that goal.
Mm-hmm.
Did you look back on yourself and went, I could have gone on this trip, or I could have bought that instead?
Never.
Okay.
Never happened once. My wife and I always discussed any even halfway major decision or purchase, and we decide, okay, we're going to do it, and you do it, and you don't look back. I can honestly say I have zero regrets, and I say that with a straight face. I don't regret anything. Now, we do stuff now, and after we hit that goal, we did stuff that after we did it, we thought, okay, been there, done that.
Yeah.
And we don't ever have to do that again. We went to Italy on a vacation one time. We ate at the #1 rated restaurant in Rome. Sat at a special table with a sommelier that stayed right there and fed me wine all night long. He never left. You had your own sommelier.
Wow.
You looked off, you're sitting on one of the 7 hills of Rome. You see the Vatican lit up in lights. The bill for that meal was over €1,000.
Oh, wow. Which at the time was probably 2,000 American dollars.
It was
1,700?
No, it was at that time. It was like 1.2 to 1.
Oh, okay.
But still,
1,200.
yeah, for dinner, and we loved it. But we never have to do that again.
No.
Do you find yourself being in a place where you're there, you're doing all that, but you go real deep down and you say, you know what, I really don't need to travel so much? Or, you get to a point where, I see it in a book, I'm good to go. I'm actually pretty happy. I don't need to be traveling. I'm saying I'm going to travel, but when you really deal with it, a lot of people don't want to travel.
I will say this, and it's I'm being truthful, and I'm almost embarrassed. It's like drinking this booze. I love drinking booze, but I just can't do it like I used to.
Yeah.
I love traveling. I can't do it like I used to. Okay. I like being home. I like having to do the stuff at my house. And if I'm gone, I can't. That's why I'm only going on 1 week of this vacation with the #1 son and his family. I didn't want to be gone for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So 1 week is enough. It's time to go home. When the wife and I go on a trip, 1 week is tops. We're both ready to come home then.
Yeah. You traveled a lot for work.
I did. I traveled a lot internationally. Domestically, I was gone about half the time. Not quite. But, yeah. I mean,
So it sounds like you were the carbon copy, saver, planner kind of person growing up throughout your working years.
I was.
Well, what do you say to the person who is, our age, 40 to 50 range, 40 to 55, who decided to get the late start, and I get it, the whole, you should have planted that tree 25 years ago, but you better plant that tree today. It's still just as good. What do you say to people like that? I mean, that's most of our listeners.
Well, first of all, 65 is just a number. That was my number, okay? It might be 70. It might be 75. It's hard to say. But if you stay healthy, diet, exercise, 8 hours sleep, if you do all that, you can buy time. Now, there's no guarantees.
You're right.
I mean, I can get hit by a semi on the way back to the house from this podcast, and then I'm done. And they'll harvest all my organs because I have a strong heart, okay? But you never know. But you got to do what you want to do. But if you stay healthy, get enough sleep. Sleep is important. And I would say diet, exercise, and sleep. And in the order would be diet, sleep, and then exercise.
Yeah.
That's third. It really is. Because if you don't eat right,
Doesn't matter.
the machine doesn't work.
Can't outrun your diet.
That's exactly right. And you got to exercise, but you got to sleep too.
Yeah.
I've had problems with, like most people, have problems with sleeping sometimes. I think everybody does. I've learned that this is not a unique problem to me. It's a unique problem to about 98% of the population.
Right.
Okay. And if you get the 8 hours sleep, I've said this many times, if I could guarantee myself 8 hours of sleep every night, I would be the ruler of the world. But I get that about twice a month. So I'm not.
Yeah.
So I was a knife salesman instead.
There you go. what other ways did you prepare yourself? You were a planner and a saver. What other ways were you preparing yourself for that day to come, spiritually, emotionally? Was there anything you were doing to one day not go punch the clock?
Well, like I said before, I'm in the third act, and you've got to plan for that third act.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, when you hit that third act, you come to a realization, well, what's the fourth act? Well, it's not here on this earth, first of all. It's elsewhere, if you believe that or you don't. And I was raised Catholic.
Mm-hmm.
I've been Catholic all my life. I've never considered anything else. The boys were all raised Catholic. They all still attend church. Their children are Catholic. Their wives are Catholic. It's very important to me. And I came to the conclusion that, look, sure, I go to Mass every Sunday. I do this, I do that. But if you really believe this stuff, if you really buy into it, you got to do more than that. Mm-hmm. And I likened it to, what's the old adage where if you want to become an expert at anything, you need 10,000 hours.
Right.
Okay? So if you're going to Mass 52 times a week, throw in 56 with the holy days.
Per year, right?
Per year.
Yeah.
How many years do you have to go before you hit 10,000 hours?
Yeah, what's a Catholic Mass, about an hour?
It's about an hour, yeah. So, so by the time I'm 196,
there you go.
I'll be there. So you got to do more. Either
true.
Either you believe this stuff or you don't. If you believe this stuff, you got to follow through with it all the way. If you don't believe it, I'm not trying to be ignorant, but save yourself the time and don't even go to church. If you don't believe it, don't waste your time. Because I will tell you that I don't believe that God's going to say, wow, he fooled me. I thought he was for real.
Wow,
and
he went to church every Easter.
Not even close.
Yeah,
Yep, you're right.
Okay. And when you get yourself into that position and you think, okay, this is the third act, this is the final act, and there's not a fourth. Actually, there is a fourth, I guess, but it's not here.
Mm-hmm.
Where are you gonna be after you take the dirt nap?
Yeah.
That's a big deal to me too.
Okay.
And as we get older and closer to the inevitable, because when you're 20, nobody's going to die when they're 20.
No way.
Yeah.
Well, that is so true. I mean, Jesus said, I don't want to be the guy who Jesus says to, I never knew you.
Yeah. Yeah.
I do not want to be that guy.
Right. And I say the whole Catholic thing, and I'm not saying, I'm not one of those guys that said, look, if you're not Catholic, you're not going to heaven. I don't know that. All things are possible with God. This works for me.
Right.
Okay. You've got to figure it out yourself and figure out what's best for you. I know that's best for me.
Okay. So going back to where Kevin and I, so I'm on my third career.
Mm-hmm.
And I basically had a full career in the Army, and I left early before retirement.
Mm-hmm.
And then I started my career in the fire service.
Mm-hmm.
Decided I got to do something else.
Mm-hmm.
And so now I'm, doing what I'm doing now. I'm at a position to where I'm like, okay, with selling my property in South Carolina and, the VA stuff that I've been so fortunate that the VA is a great thing now. It's strange how awesome the VA is, and I'm not knocking them at all. I think any veteran who doesn't go through the VA process, you're a fool. You need to get what's owed you. They promised you to take care of you,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm coming close to where I'm thinking about retirement. I'll be 46 in June, and I'm thinking to myself, like, what do I need to keep working for if my house is paid off?
Mm-hmm.
I don't have any other debt except for my mortgage right now.
Mm-hmm.
So if my house is paid off, what else? I have health care through the VA for the rest of my life. What am I doing? So I'm in a unique position myself
Mm-hmm.
that a lot of people aren't in. Kevin's in a different position than me. But if I think to myself, if I didn't have the VA, I would be working until the day I die, probably.
Mm-hmm.
Unless I did something now to put myself in a position to be able to retire when I hit Medicare age.
Well, with you, insurance with wife and children.
Yeah, I would have. Yeah, right. So that's why I work, because my wife.
Can you get that through the VA?
Not right now.
So.
Not right now, but
I don't even think at 100 you get it.
yeah, you do.
At 100?
Full coverage?
You get TRICARE. Yeah.
Well, yeah, you get TRICARE, but you still pay for TRICARE.
You got to pay for it. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, you pay for Medicare supplements too, and you pay for Medicare.
It's the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, what should I be doing right now to prepare myself to not have to go to work anymore?
Well, you got to figure out how much are you going to need to live on. Okay.
Okay.
Take that number and then ramp it up, because stuff happens.
What's the multiplier? What do you think?
Well, for me, it was, I took what we did. First of all, I got a good financial planner. Number one son.
Yeah.
And we had the discussion. I said, hey, look, you better advise me correctly, or
I'll be living
if you
in your
don't,
house.
your mom and I will be at your house. He laughed, and we didn't.
Yeah.
So, but he's very good, and he invested us into rather conservative funds. Your standard, like 60-40 stocks to bonds, index funds, some small cap, some growth funds, some international, some small cap, that type of thing. But a good mix. And then some of our mix was in, and we take a little bit of money and we put it, like our daily money, we put it in an Amex account that's drawing, I think, 3.6% now. At one time it was over 5, but it keeps going down. But they have a multiplier, and they say, okay, here, how much? What are you going to do? We're going to do this, 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 this. How much are you going to want to spend? We want to spend this. And it's a number that we put here. It's probably going to be here, but just in case we want to do something really cool, it's here. And he put us at, okay, if you do all this, you got a 94% chance of being able to do everything you want up to age 95. I thought, okay, that's pretty much for sure.
Yeah.
So while nothing's for certain,
Right.
I mean, then we made the decision to do it.
Yeah. Well, with the shape you're in now, and based on your dad working in a shop, as he's 88 years old, I think you're going to live quite a while. You better have some more money saved up.
Well, here's the thing, though, and my son told me this, and I know this too. Of course, you can get sick and have problems, okay? But when I'm in my 80s, I'm not going to be climbing mountains and doing via ferratas, probably, okay?
Yeah.
Okay. You just won't do as much, and if the money starts to run out, you can ramp down. The other thing we did is I'm not drawing Social Security. I won't do that until I'm 70.
Okay.
But if you don't draw Social Security until you're 70, it's a chunk of change. It's unbelievable how much it is. It's very cool. My wife is still working, so I don't have to draw Social Security, and we'll start drawing it at 70. As then will my wife. So when I'm 73 and she's 70, we're both drawing Social Security, we probably won't have to touch our savings.
Yeah.
Except to maybe buy more Jaguars.
Yeah, buy a new Jaguar. Like I say. So somebody in my position, about to be turned 46, it's probably a good idea to get a financial planner.
Number one thing, get a good financial planner.
And
that's the number one thing.
Luckily, I know one.
Okay.
And
my oldest son will help you out.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Very good.
I wouldn't go. Keep it in the family. He's super smart, super gracious, very nice guy, easy to work with. Maybe we'll have him on the show one day. He could drum up some business. I don't know. He probably needs some. He needs more work. Too busy making kids.
I have the internal debate on the financial planner.
What do you think?
Well, in my mind, I tell myself, I used a financial planner a couple years ago. I took everything I had and I contacted with someone I knew and said, I want you to look at what I'm doing and let me know if I am tracking correctly. And I'll pay you to do it. And he said, well, I won't charge you, but will you give me an opportunity to present a plan? I said, sure. It's not what I want, but okay. If that's what's going to give me my answers.
Sure.
So I gave him everything I had. Took about 2 weeks. Then he contacted me. and went in. I knew it was going to happen. Went in, me and my wife. He wanted to see Gail too. I said, "You can just tell me." No, I want you two both.
He wanted to do the whole presentation.
And he did. And he didn't have to. But he did the whole presentation with me and her. And we walked out. And we're sitting in the car. We never even left the parking space of his place. And I'm flipping through his presentation, and I'm showing her what we're doing right now. And I said, everything that he's showing us, we're already doing.
Mm-hmm.
What do I need a financial planner for? And save me the money. And there was nothing he did different. Nothing. Other than I had to pay him to manage the funds. And I went, well, I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing. I mean, there is a school of thought that says you can be as smart as a financial planner. Where you're missing out on is your tax impacts and, changes to the market that might be happening pretty quick. The rules, things like that. And so the other side of me says, until I hit a net worth of $500,000 or more, because no one wants to talk to you unless you have that much money, then I'm going, all right, well, then I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing.
If you're, and this is just me talking as an unprofessional, okay?
Right.
If you take your money and invest it in index funds and bonds, you're probably fine. Here's where my financial planner has helped me. Sure, he's done all that kind of stuff, but look, some of this needs to be in an international fund. Yeah, but the international fund stinks. Well, yeah, now it does, but what about next year? And generally, if the domestic is up, the international's down, and it's a yin and a yang, so they balance you, okay? Also, when it came time to retire, what do I do? He said, well, let me send you this guy. This guy knows a whole lot about Medicare supplements. Go see him. He'll help you out. This guy said, hey, look, here's a Medicare supplement you can have that costs you nothing, and it gives you all these benefits. But the same benefits as what I was looking at, and these people were just going to charge me, $75 a month. So, yeah, but this is the same one that charges you nothing. So he plugged me into this guy. We needed to do a living will for my folks. He plugged us into a lawyer. These folks know folks that the average Joe doesn't. So they all have a guy.
Right, and that's my plan, actually. My plan is to, when I get in my mind 5 years from retirement, that's when I'm going to start reaching out.
Okay.
And going, yep, I need to start transferring things over. You can start managing it. I'm 5 years away. I need to make sure things are good. I'm not at that point yet.
Well, was this guy that you talked to a fiduciary?
He was.
Okay. To me, that's necessary.
Yes. Well, I made sure he was.
Okay.
Yeah, I look at it like only a fool represents himself in a court of law type of deal. Like even though you know the law and you're innocent and you feel like you're fine, you better have a damn lawyer. Because they know the language. Well,
but like what Kevin's saying, to me, he has a point. Is it a speeding ticket or a murder rap? Okay, right. Speeding ticket, I just might represent myself. Yeah. Okay. A murder rap, I'm paying the professional. Right. So until it's at that level, maybe you don't. Okay.
So to me, like, how am I going to live the rest of my life when I'm not working anymore? That's very serious. And I've seen, as a first responder, I've seen how bad it can be if you're not planning and you're just, well, I'll have Social Security, and you're just kind of living like that.
Yeah,
then but it's like, yikes, man.
That's the other thing. In fact, what my planner does is, what do you want to do? What do you want to spend your money on? How do you want to live? That's the first thing. Okay, if you're going to do that, you got to have this.
Yeah.
So they'll tell you what you have to have if you want to do that. Okay. And part of what we wanted to do was we wanted to spend winters in San Diego. I love San Diego. 3 months a year there. Well, two things happened. You could get a nice place in San Diego once upon a time for about $10,000 a month. We could afford that. It's now 30.
Yeah.
Okay, that was number one. Number two, we didn't have 8 grandchildren. I don't want to be away from them for 3 months. Right. Okay, so things change. Things change all the time.
But you were prepared to go to San Diego.
Yeah.
And now you're not going to San Diego. You have that money to spoil the grandkids.
Yeah, but we don't. We do, but we have them over the pool.
They come swimming in your pool. That's
exactly. We went on one of those old people Viking river cruises.
Oh yeah, how was that?
Good for old people.
Yeah.
But I'm an old people,
Were
so
you a
it's
little
okay.
young? For...
We were on the young side, but that was okay. It was wonderful.
Yeah.
I
And
loved
make
it.
sure you're always in the front
Yeah.
because they can't keep up. So you get out there first.
Yeah, the tourists get out in front of everybody.
But yeah, that's what we did. We tell them what we want to do, and they assign a value to that,
Okay.
or you tell them the value, okay, and they say, okay, you need to have income of this much a month if you really want to do that.
Yeah.
To do that, here's how Social Security works. You'll be drawing this. And they put in multipliers for inflation and all that kind of stuff. And they say, okay, if you want to do that, you need to have this much money and work until this day. Okay.
Yep. That's what I need.
It works out real well. So you're paying for the advice. I mean, it's kind of like going to a doctor, or kind of like having a lawyer to me.
Like a well visit type of thing. Like when you're not sick, you go to the doctor just to say, hey,
exactly. Am I on
play
schedule?
soccer when I'm 65.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. Are you looking at buying a vacation home? No. Are you looking at buying whatever? No. Okay, well then you're fine.
Yeah.
We've never had luxurious tastes really regularly. So I mean we do what we want to do, but we're not extravagant.
Did you ever think that you would not get Social Security?
No, I never believed that. And it's funny you say that, because when I was a kid, when I was 19, and Social Security won't be there for you. Yeah, it will. Now, it may be less, and it may be you have to be older when you get it, because, and it's still that way. I mean, they say, well, I don't get full Social Security in air quotes, for those of you listening at home, until I'm 66 and 10 months. But it goes up until I'm 70. So the whole full Social Security at 66 and 10 months is baloney.
Yeah, it's not full.
No, it's not full. 70 is full Social Security. So they've raised it from 65 to 70. They've already done that. I look at them continuing to bump it up.
Yeah.
I look at them to perhaps bump up how much you have to pay.
Well, they're certainly not going to stop taking it out of your paycheck.
No, they're not going to do that. Medicare will start costing more. Costs more every year.
Yeah.
Okay. It'll continue to cost more. So that's how they'll do it. That's how they'll figure it out. Okay.
That's always been my thought. It's never going to go away.
No, it can't.
If they decided a civil war is going to break out just on Social Security.
Yeah, it'd be political suicide.
Yeah.
Sure
What politician is going to take away Social Security from the group that votes more than any other group in the world? Okay. There's not a Republican or a Democrat who's going to even consider that.
Nope.
I also personally think the fund will just keep getting better, because as the baby boomers are all dying off, then,
Hurry up.
everyone else is still paying into it, but the population is less. So
there's
it's got
also
more.
the idea of a sovereign wealth fund being formed. That's been floated out by the president. Have you heard of that?
That kind of died off.
Yeah, he mentioned it, and everybody's like, yeah, let's do that. That sounds great. And then, no. It's like the Epstein files. We're going to release them, and then, psych,
No,
just
we're
kidding.
not. Yeah. But I think it'll always be there. They'll adjust it. They'll massage it. They'll reduce it. I mean, it seems like they do that all the time, but they'll figure it out. I think anybody who's alive today is going to get some form of Social Security. I just do.
I worry about them screwing the veterans more than anybody, because they have a history of doing that. It's happened multiple times. And I don't know.
I don't disagree with you, but why do you think that is? I mean, I think you're right, but why do you think that is?
They've done it multiple times.
I know they have.
For sure.
But why do you think
why would they do it again?
No, why do they continue to do it? I believe that they will do it again. But
Yeah.
why would you do that?
Low hanging fruit.
Yeah. It's like we volunteered.
That's the difference. It's not a draft army. It hasn't been a draft army since Vietnam.
Yeah.
So,
they could always say, well, you signed up for this, man.
Yeah, you served at the pleasure of the President of the United States.
Yeah.
Have a nice day.
Yeah, I guess.
That's why I always advise people to not join the military. I want enough people to not volunteer for the military, so we have to have a draft again. I think we should have conscription, and I think if women want to be in the military, they should be conscripted as well. And that'll fix a lot of things in this country.
There's a lot of people who believe that. I mean, many countries have that.
Yeah. And, a lot of goofy stuff we were doing would get fixed super quick.
Mm-hmm.
Draftees were a great thing because they didn't give a shit about their career. They would tell you the truth, like, "Hey, this is stupid. I'm not doing this."
Yeah.
Like my grandpa, he was a draftee in World War II.
Right.
And have you heard his stories where like the volunteer lieutenant told him to fix bayonets and charge into the jungle, and somebody yelled out, "F you," and they just laid there. They were like, "No, man, we're not going to charge these Japanese hiding.
Yeah.
Like, we're going to get slaughtered."
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
And they all lived. Look at that.
Mm-hmm.
And we still won the war.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, and the veteran population is getting less.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, as World War II's almost gone, Korea's next, Vietnam. I mean, they're hitting it too. I mean, all you got left is the war on terror folks.
Yeah, which
and
is
a few
not
folks,
that many people.
Right, and a few in between.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it's a big of an issue.
No, and I think they could just, we'll just clip this off right here.
Yep.
We'll save Medicare. We saved Medicare, and everybody will cheer.
When I was in the radio business, there was a guy, he was a retired Major Mike Pate, and he had a show called the Sit Rep Show, military show. Mm-hmm. And I would produce that for him occasionally because they gave him an hour after I was done. And then he'd say, "Okay, now how do you turn the microphone on again?" "Oh, okay, I'll stick around." So I'd help him out, okay? But he was a big advocate for the veterans.
Mm-hmm.
And he kind of, like what you said, many veterans did not take advantage of what they had. And he blamed it some on them, but he also blamed it on their officers because they didn't sit them down and talk to them at the end. And here's what he said. He said, "Look," he said, "I don't mean to be ignorant, but a lot of people who were in the Army for 20, 30 years. And they went from their mom's house to their uncle's house,
mm-hmm.
okay? And then when it came time to get out of the military, they had never truly been on their own. They didn't know what to do.
Right.
And they just crashed and burned. And they didn't make them sign what's the form you signed to get out? And
4187. Oh, your DD 214.
Yeah, 214. Yeah. They didn't sign. They never signed that.
Yeah.
They just never got around to it because their commanding officer said, "Okay, be on your way. Sign this or take it with you and sign it at your convenience."
Yeah.
And they never signed it. And then 5 years later, when they need something, well, you never signed this form, and now they're screwed.
Yeah.
Well, that's changed though because now you have to do mandatory VA counseling and all kinds of stuff before you even get out. That's part of your out processing. Where they're automatically throwing the VA as part of it.
Well, Major Pate was a big advocate for that. He said, "Look, a lot of these are self-inflicted wounds of these guys.
Yeah.
However, they could do a whole lot more to make the process just a whole lot better for them."
For me, it took me 13 years to finally go to the VA.
Yeah.
13 years after I got out.
Mm-hmm.
And I always said, I don't want their blood money.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't happy with the military. I'm not happy for our government. And but then moving here, I met Kevin, who's a veteran, and I met another veteran who works with us, and they were just kind of like, "What the hell's wrong with you, man? Like, are you stupid?
It's a benefit you earned. Why not take advantage of it?"
You earned it. They owe you.
That's right.
And so I was like, okay, I'm going to call these people up and see what's up. And then come to find out, I'm like, they pull my medical records. They're like, "Dude, you were exposed to toxic chemicals. Do you know that?" I'm like, "No, I had no idea." They were like, "Oh yeah, you had this, and this." Like, why did you wait so long? And now I'm getting treatments that I should have had 13 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I just got a CPAP machine. I've been basically dying in my sleep for over a decade. My oxygen going down to 73% at night, and I've had, my wife tell me, like, something is seriously wrong. You need to go see a doctor. I'm like, I don't know, whatever. I'll tough it out, just like always. Anyway, I don't want to turn the show about me, but the VA has been a blessing for me. I go my primary care is through the VA, and I sit down and they said, "Well, what's wrong? What do you need? What's hurting?"
Mm-hmm.
And I tell them, and they say, "Okay, you got physical therapy this day. You're going to see this therapist. We're going to all your medications. We're going to take care of that." And they sent me a CPAP machine in the mail.
Very cool.
It's great. I went to saw physical therapy, and they're like, okay, we're going to do this for you. We'll see you in a few weeks and see how it's going.
And it's helped?
It's helped immensely.
That's great.
And, the only thing that I'm like, damn it, man, why did I wait so
Well, and if you're doing this now, it's going to reap benefits down the road when you get older.
Yes.
It's like, I liken it to like when you're on an airplane, okay, and the flight attendants give the whole spiel about how to put on your mask and blah, 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 blah. But what do they tell you? If you got a kid, put on your mask first.
Yes.
And then take care of the kid.
Right.
That's the same way.
It is.
It's your job to take care of your family.
Yeah.
But if you're not taking care of yourself, you're not going to be able to help that family.
Yeah.
Okay.
We've talked about this multiple times on the show. In leadership, you got to get your own stuff straight.
Yep.
Before you try to lead other people. If
Yep.
you're not leading yourself, you're not going to lead anybody else.
That's true.
And that, the VA, going through the VA process and getting this, like, if I'm conscious and being, paying attention to what I'm doing with my body and what I put in my body and how my sleep and how I take care of myself. And then now the results are I was 250 pounds. Now I'm 215. And I'm getting back into better shape. What about my finances? What can I do with these? What about retirement? When I'm, I need to start having the same mindset of being prepared now.
Yep.
Don't wait 13 years.
Nope.
To start saving up, because now, like you said, the best time to plant a tree was yesterday. The second best time is today.
That's right. That's right.
Did you have any other retirement questions for James?
Well, we're running up on an hour 20. We said an hour and a half. Lessons learned. That's what I wrote down. So now you're in your third act. You're a year in, almost a year, right?
It'll be a year.
July,
in
right?
October. End of July, yes. August 1st.
August 1st.
Yeah.
So looking back, after this year, after you started at 19, looking back, what is there anything you'd say? I would do a little tweaky there. You said no regrets, but are there any tweaks or changes you would make?
It's hard to say. I'm sure there were some. And I've had some, but in the big scheme of things, they were blips on the radar. They weren't even worth mentioning.
So stay looking forward. Don't look back.
Yeah. An example is back when we had almost no money, I had this grand scheme. I was going to buy a machine, a lathe and a mill and a saw, and put them in my basement and start making parts and make extra money. And I never made enough money. I might have made enough money to pay for the machinery, okay? And that was a time when we couldn't afford that.
Yeah.
And I beat myself up over that for years. This was a bad investment in my part. At best, I made my money back at a time where we didn't have the extra money. But that was 45 years ago? And I can't look back on that. It's stupid to look back on that.
Right.
So it's not even worth mentioning. 40 years ago, anyway, it's not even worth mentioning. So the things that I would do different, I would just say don't look back. If you make a stupid choice, what the heck? Okay, just don't do that again.
Yeah.
Okay, just don't make the same mistake 16 times.
There you go.
And if you're going to make a mistake, have that mistake be, you know what? I went to this restaurant. We spent an extra $40 on dinner. Probably shouldn't have done that. We just won't do that again. Don't make the mistake like, you know what? This crack rock probably doesn't have fentanyl in it. What the heck? That's a mistake you probably don't want to walk away from. All right.
Right.
Or like the old thing, we're enjoying a little bit of whiskey here. Okay. I don't need to have 6 of these and drive home.
Right.
Well, I've got a convertible. I can close one eye. I'll be great. That's a stupid choice.
Yes.
Okay. Just be smart.
Yeah.
Just be smart.
Don't bet your mortgage on a horse.
Exactly. Exactly. Don't buy stupid Jaguars until you got disposable income. Then it's okay.
There you go. What do you have, Kevin?
Well, I don't have disposable income.
So you'll be driving the Honda.
Right, for quite a while. I wanted to know about your podcast a little bit, and at the same time ask, those who have been thinking about doing something like this. How's the podcast business, not the business, but the experience of podcast been for you over the, how many years now? 8, you said?
About 8, 9 years, something like that. Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, because you're up to number 403.
Yeah.
Today is our number 20.
Yeah. When I was in radio, I made a little bit of money. They paid me a little bit of money to do it. I walked away for a little bit of time. They came back and they said, we can't pay you anymore. So that's okay. I said, well, can I sell time? Yeah, you can sell time if you want. And I made a ton more money selling my time than I ever did having them pay me. But podcasting, I've not found a way to monetize that yet. I will tell you, I still do a podcast for 2 reasons. First of all, to keep myself in practice, okay? When I work in my shop on my Jaguar, I play some bossa nova music, I dance a little bit, I work on a little bit of a car, but I'm not talking to anybody, except it's from one of my neighbors who also have shops, and you talk to them every now and then. Having a podcast is a way to keep yourself social, keep yourself up on the times, because if you're going to talk about something, you probably should know a little bit about it before you run your pie hole. And so it forces me to read the Wall Street Journal more closely than I normally would. It forces me to pay attention to politics when I really don't want to. So it forces me to be engaged, okay? Plus, it keeps me up on technology. I run my podcast through a server, a service called Spreaker. They're very good, but they change the way they do things every now and then, which forces me to change the way I do things. I have Windows 10, which Bill Gates guaranteed he would never go to Windows 11, ever, never. Well, guess what? We have Windows 11 now.
Yeah, okay? It sucks.
Yeah, so now I got to figure a way to do that, because 10's not going to be supported.
So do you pay attention to your audience at all and think, you know what, I really don't want to talk about these things because I'm more concerned about my audience than myself?
No,
Or you
I
don't
used to do that. I did. Okay, what does the audience want to hear? And I would do that, and it became more like a job. My podcast went from news of the day, more like yours is, where we talk amongst people, but you got to plan, you got to schedule. You just can't do it on a whim. What do people want to talk about? Okay, that's what we're going to talk about. I don't do that anymore. I do what I want to talk about, and I hope that they listen, because I don't have a sponsor. I'm not making money. And I will say that my listenership is down a bit, but not much. So if I'm doing it for me, I haven't lost most of my audience. So I guess they think that's a good idea too. Okay?
It's kind of like going to the gym for you. Keep your mind sharp.
It's exactly what it is.
Keep you engaged.
It's exactly what it's like. When I was in sales, it helped me out a whole lot, because it helps you become relevant. It's an icebreaker for people. I had customers who still listen to the podcast.
Cool.
Other than considering your audience from the beginning, did your topics or their theme of your podcast evolve over time?
It did. When I first started off, I was more along the lines of a Howard Stern or a Tom Likas, kind of a shock jock thing. I would say stuff that was just outrageous within the FCC guidelines. I would tell stories of things in the news, and I enjoyed doing it. I thought it was very entertaining. I had scores of people saying, "Wow, this is like nothing I've ever heard. This is fantastic. You're the best show on the radio." Blah 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 blah. But a lot of that too was I would have a laugh at somebody else's expense. Okay, and I thought to myself, is having a laugh at somebody else's expense really what you want to be doing? And I thought, yeah, the answer is no. Because in the fourth act, Is that going to be the reason? Yeah, we'd love to have you, but remember when you just made fun of all those people who were my children? I thought, you know what? Maybe that's not what I want to be doing. So,
yikes.
I'm more prudent with what I do. Yeah. Okay. The old adage, if you can't say anything good about somebody, don't say anything at all. Gentlemen, I don't talk about politics because I don't know that we have a good politician in this country.
Oh, we've been avoiding politics in our show.
Yeah,
pretty well.
Look, you know, my previous podcast, I was at war.
It
was war.
You were.
And it got to a point where it was like I'm drinking poison to spite my enemy, you know, type of thing. And that's when I was like, I'm not doing it. Just abrupt. I was like, no, this is it.
Yep.
No more. And not only that, I'm fighting a fight that nobody else cared about but me.
That's the big thing. How much does anybody else care about it?
And it was more of an entertainment factor for people, and I was seriously at war. So, yeah, I understand completely what you're saying. There was, what am I getting out of this?
You've got to wake up in the morning. This podcast that I do, the podcast that you guys do, anything that you do, you got to wake up in the morning and look at yourself in the mirror and say, look, is this person doing what he needs to be doing, or she? And if you can feel good about the person you're looking in the mirror, I mean, you can lie to them if you want, but you can't, because they're not going to buy that. I mean, I'm just going to guess that. Let's see. Let me have my choice. I can sit here and drink whiskey with two good guys, or we can beat ourselves up talking about how Trump and Biden suck. Right. Which is more fun? Okay.
Right. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, I find that this is more of an accountability platform for me, because we talk about masculinity, being a leader, manhood stuff, and things that we truly believe in. And then tomorrow, Sunday, through the next Saturday, I'll find myself like, man, I don't want to be a hypocrite. Don't go down this road. You need to go that way because you talked about this, man.
Yep.
And this is what you believe in, and you talk about it, and you had all these people listen to you say it. Don't be a hypocrite.
Yeah.
And then also there's research, like we have certain topics, so I'm like, I don't really know much about this, so I need to basically do a term paper on this topic so I know what I'm talking about. Even though our friend Dave will correct us a lot.
Which is great. I mean, we had fun with the Blitzkrieg last week.
That was really fun, yeah. And
was that Kanye West's new song?
I don't even know what that is, but like you said, it makes me stay current as well.
Yeah, it does.
I don't have cable TV. I have a Twitter account, but I'm only on there because of a group chat that I'm in. I don't really, and I like to troll some like Cash Patel every once in a while. But that's it. I don't watch Fox News or CNN, or I don't read newspapers. I didn't even know there was a tornado in St. Louis yesterday until somebody said 5 people were killed. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's terrible.
Yeah.
And so I'm not current. I'm basically a hermit. I have a couple friends. That's about it, you know. So for you in this new phase of life, this Act 3, the podcast for you is a way to stay connected with people?
It is. And something's going to come of it. I mean, I don't know what that's going to be. Maybe someone will come to me with an offer I can't refuse to get back into radio part-time. Maybe the podcast will evolve once again. It's evolved about 6 times. Maybe I'll stop doing it because I'm done. I don't know. But I can tell you where I am right now with the podcast today. 1 year from now, it'll be someplace else. Because it just changes. It just evolves because we change and we evolve. Okay.
Oh yeah.
And this is just one of the vehicles that we ride through this wonderful life. Okay. That's kind of how I look at it.
Yeah.
Matt brought up a good point because we were talking. You know, one of our things is manhood, masculinity. Those that we like to talk about. For you, James, what was a defining moment in your life as a man?
Having my first child. Getting married was one thing. That was a big deal because I had somebody that, she really didn't rely on me. She's a pretty independent gal.
Yeah.
But when that baby is born, all bets are off. This person is 100% dependent on you. If you lose your job, he doesn't eat. If you don't pay the mortgage, you live in the car. And that's unacceptable. And That's what a man does. A man cares for his family. A man raises his family. Mom raises the kids. Now, sure, a lot of families, the mom works now too, which is good if that's how you want to do it. We were fortunate enough where for a good part of our early family, my wife was able to stay at home. But that's when we lived in the 900 square foot house in Hazelwood. I drove the beater to and from work. When the beater didn't run, I'd take the bus. We did that occasionally. I would work every hour of overtime in the shop that I could. I'd get off work at 3:30, get home by 3:49. Watch the last part of Jeopardy. I'd see Final Jeopardy. Then I'd watch Barney Miller. Then we'd have dinner. Then I'd play with the kids. That was my life.
Barney Miller, man.
Reruns.
Yeah, the reruns.
So yeah, I mean it's the job of the old man to make sure that the cash flow stays in. And for the boys, I had 4 boys. It's important for them to see what a man's all about.
Did you guys have nightly wrestling matches?
Not nightly, but often.
Yeah.
Yeah,
we
did.
That's super important too for men with boys.
Yeah. It's fun. We played ball in the backyard.
Yeah.
We would do stuff like that all the time.
Yeah, but in general, I mean, I just loved what you said, because as a man who's a family man also, married with children, you are the patriarch.
Yeah. Know your role.
Yes, absolutely, and embrace it.
Yeah.
You know, don't think it's a burden in some way, because it's not a burden. Actually, you know, that's what you're created to do.
Yeah.
And you should embrace it with joy and do it. I mean, this is what we're supposed to be doing every day.
Everybody has a vocation in life, and my vocation was raising a family, and I think I did okay, but it took a lot of effort. It took a lot of you had to be a man to do it. You had to, because man, that life out there, the world is tough. It's an ugly world, and if you don't build a foundation for your children, for your family, and they become men or women, and they say, wow, why didn't you tell me about this? That's on you.
Yeah.
Because you have an obligation to do that. It's okay to be, touchy-feely, do what you want, be your own person. But here's the guidelines.
To a certain point.
Here's the foundation. Be your own person, but you will go to work every day.
Yeah.
You will stay away from the heavy drugs. You will make God important in your life. You will respect your mother. You will fill in the blank.
Yeah.
And they all go off the reservation. All kids do.
Sure.
They test the old man all the time. My boys did. I did with mine. You two probably did with your parents. That's just the way of it. But if the old man puts the fist down and says, son, you ain't doing this anymore. Okay, you win. Now I know the rules. That's the job of the old man, too.
Yeah. That was Teddy Roosevelt,
That's easy.
right?
It's different with women.
Yeah. Yeah. Kevin has all daughters.
Okay.
4 daughters.
I have one son, but
yeah,
I have
I'm
4
sorry.
daughters.
Okay.
Well, he's a Marine, so he doesn't count.
Yeah, I have 4 daughters. I'm trying to get them all married off. So if you know anyone, let me know.
Are you a traditionalist?
Yes.
Okay, so you got 4 weddings to pay for.
Yeah.
Friend, you're never retiring.
I know. Well, my youngest daughter just turned 16.
Okay.
I'll be 60 when she's 20.
Okay.
So, I know I'll be working forever.
I think she's probably going to be the first one married. Me and Caitlin were talking like, all right, Kevin's got these daughters, right? Which one? I think Sam's going to be the first one.
Well, we all have running bets.
Yeah. I don't know. You might be surprised. Yeah, I have 2 boys and a daughter. I have a 18-month-old daughter.
Yeah.
40.
Yeah,
I'll
you'll
be
be working
46.
for a while.
There's no retirement.
No,
I'll be fine.
It'll just come later. That's all.
Yeah.
Stay healthy and yeah.
Well, I say this.
We'll be all right.
Nowhere in the Bible does it say you retire.
That's right.
It doesn't.
No. There's only one thing that's close to it, and it's the Levite priests
Yeah.
in the Old Testament. The guys who work the altar.
Oh.
After, I think it's when they hit a certain age or so many years in service, they don't quit or retire, but they retire from that particular role and move to the easier, like I'm the Walmart greeter.
Oh, okay.
As you come into the altar. I'm not doing the hard work.
I like working, man. When I think about not working, I'm what the hell am I going to do with myself?
Well, it's funny you say that because I always thought that too.
Yeah.
And you know how long it took me to get used to not going into work every day?
Oh, I'm sure it was a shock.
No.
No?
It took no time.
None?
None. None.
Wow.
No time. Zero.
Didn't even
Zero.
think about him, huh?
No. But to be fair, I gave him 15 months notice.
Yeah.
So there was a wind down
I
period.
think I asked you, like, are you still going to be on, like, can they call you if they have a question?
And they
or
do
anything
sometimes.
Like that? Yeah.
In fact, I talked to my replacement just this week.
Yeah.
We talk all the time.
That's good.
But yeah, I mean, they don't need me anymore.
Yeah.
That's the other thing. If you think, well, I'm so important they can't possibly do it without me, friend,
Yeah.
you are drinking something heavier than this whiskey.
Absolutely.
Because they could do without you so easy.
Yeah.
It's laughable. It's
I had
just
that
laughable.
thought when I left, when I was, so I had gotten out of the Army one time before, and then I ended up going back in. But when I was getting out, I was like, well, who's going to do it if I don't? If I don't re-enlist and if I don't stay in the Army, who's going to do it? Like, dude, there's like 10,000 guys getting recruited right now that are going to easily do what you do. Like, you're not special. This Army's been here since 1775, right? Is that 75?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, you didn't do anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
Calm down, specialist.
Small cog in the big wheel.
Yeah.
250 years this year.
Yeah, that's this year.
Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
250 year. And that's what, in June? Or
Yes.
July?
No, June.
June is
Yep,
the
June
Army
14th.
birthday. June 14th, 250 years. Cool.
Yesterday was Armed Forces Day,
Today. I thought it was today.
the 16th.
Third Saturday of every May, isn't it?
Officially the 16th.
Dave, correct.
Today's
us.
the 17th.
Dave,
Right.
set us straight. He'll fix us.
It was yesterday.
I think it's today.
It was
But,
yesterday. It's like Easter.
Agree to disagree.
It's on a specific day, but it's celebrated on this day,
Oh, okay. All right.
the 16th.
Orthodox or Christian.
Yeah.
They have different Easters. Not this year, though. It was the same day.
Same.
Yeah.
Wow.
Happens sometimes.
Must be the end is near.
Who knows?
It's always near. Well, thank you very much, James, for coming to
Hey,
our
thanks for having me.
humble
This
studio
was fun.
down
This
here in
was
my
fun.
basement.
Would you two consider coming onto my podcast?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Very
Yes.
good. I guess I have to plan, though, don't I?
You got to plan it. No,
Yeah.
we.
Okay, let's do
I
it.
am better at just going, hey, come on over, and all of a sudden, Kevin, bam.
Okay.
I'm like,
How about Wednesday at 11 o'clock in the morning? How's that work for you two?
terrible?
Oh, that's right. You're working jobs. I'm
You
sorry.
son of a bitch. I'm looking at Kevin, who's my boss, actually. So I'm like,
You're
Kevin, can we do
in
this?
Illinois,
No, he's like.
Lake St. Louis.
Lake St. Louis.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
can do it any day, 4 p.m. or after.
Okay.
Yep.
Very good. Well,
Saturday mornings we hike. Well, actually, we're going to start biking
Yeah.
because
yeah.
we're going to bike the entire Katy Trail this fall. We decided that on our walk this morning.
how many miles? How many?
206.
No. How many miles a day are you going to do?
50.
About 50 miles a
Okay.
day.
5-day trip.
Let me know.
You wanna
'Cause
go?
I want to do that. That's
right.
been a plan of mine, but I can't find anybody to do it with.
God.
My
now
wife
we're
said,
up to 6. Now we're up to 6 guys. It's going to be a freaking convoy.
"Are you going to camp or get bed and breakfast?"
camp?
I think we're. Well, I don't know if my back can handle. I got a hammock. I could probably sleep in a hammock.
I don't know. We just talked about it this morning. The idea is that we're going to do it in September,
Yeah.
probably 5 days, because I still want to enjoy it. I don't want to like pump out miles. Just
Yeah, I don't want to
Yeah.
die.
No. 50 miles is plenty.
And
But
we've
the
said it on
idea
the
for me
podcast
was
now,
that
so we
you're
have to
just going
do
to
it.
camp on the side of the road,
Yeah.
side of the trail, and then keep going.
But you got to haul food with you, and you got to haul water with you, and
Well, that's what being married's all about, because they can give you a resupply, put a dump somewhere, and you're good to go.
So that's what my
Pick it
wife
up.
said. She'd go with me, but she would.
No,
she'd get
Sky's
the.
only.
She'd get the bed. No, she wouldn't ride. She'd just get the bed
Meet
and
you at the
breakfast
bed
and
and
meet me at the hotel every night.
Hey, that's
Yeah.
not bad either.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not
What do they call those
retired,
camp
and I
travelers
have
back
no
in the-
disposable income, so we're going to go as cheap as possible.
I have a freeze drying machine, so we can prepare our meals, freeze dry them. They'll be super light. We'll be good.
I got MREs.
They're heavy, man.
Yeah, but you got to have the water.
For freeze dry? No, you just eat it, dude.
Nah, come on.
Oh,
I still want to enjoy my
All right,
life.
when we climbed Mount Whitney, we tried that game. That stuff is horrible.
The freeze dried food?
Yeah, it's awful.
come on,
It's
man.
terrible.
It's better than MREs. I know that.
Oh, maybe.
all right.
All I want to say is thanks to our listeners.
Yeah, thank you all.
Welcome. This is the Headspace and Tasting podcast. Glad you attended with us. You can reach us on Spotify, which is where we provide all of our links to our shows. We'd love to hear your comments on Spotify, Facebook. We're on X.
Yeah, we are.
And you can email us at showmemk@gmail.com. and we'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, please buy a bottle for the show. This is going to be a hard act to follow, Kevin. $77. That's now selling for $230.
One of these days, we're going to start getting some premium ones up here. I'm tired of all this cheap shit.
From me? Hey, look.
I'm not talking about you. I'm just talking about it in general.
Oh, all right.
We need to get a couple good bottles up here.
I think we've had some good
Change
ones,
up.
man, that are very cost.
I'm gonna throw in some premiums here soon.
Okay.
Or later.
All right, let's do it.
By the way, Sir William Lyons.
Okay.
That's the Jaguar guy I couldn't think of earlier.
Oh, there it is.
He found it. Just told you I'd think of it
You said it was
eventually.
a Sir something. Huh?
Yeah, right.
All right, cool. Sir William Lyons.
Great to meet you, James.
My pleasure, Kevin. My pleasure.
Thanks for coming. It's good to see you again.
My pleasure.
And we'll see you soon.
Okay. Thanks, dudes.
Thanks, folks.
Peace out.